We asked for them, so we appreciate them. 512-834-1027 as the Longhorns report to training camp today. Coming off a weekend off, their summer workouts are done, summer conditioning. What is your biggest concern for the Longhorns who check a lot of boxes in 2025? This says, guys, has to be the special teams. Fair enough.
Sure.
Well, I mean,
no, fair.
It really, I mean, the fact the Longhorns got all the way to where they did the SEC title game last year, to, the doorstep of, a 21-14 game against Ohio State, of maybe playing for a national title with atrocious special teams. They really had bad special teams last year. Their kicker and their punter, Bert Auburn, lost his confidence, and the punter was not good all year. Field position was a problem. They weren't great in the return game. All these things. And they just were not a good. I think it was 112th nationally they rated in special teams, yet they still won a lot of football games. But they did add Mason Shipley as kicker from Texas State through the portal. They also, early in the portal in December last year, got the commitment from Utah kicker Jack Boomeister, I think is how we say his name. He was an all-conference punter in both the Mountain West and the Big 12. So he's a legit senior punter who's been around the block in the Division I level. Mason Shipley at kicker. So I feel like that is they tried to address that. Plus, really putting attention to the returns games. And you start stacking recruiting classes and talent like Texas has. Your special teams, you got athletes across the board on the coverage teams and all the things. You should be seriously improved in special teams. If you're not, something's really wrong. But yes, that's a fair concern. This says kicker is one of my concerns. Mason Shipley is the name. G.J. Kinney had him kicking kicks last year for for Texas State. This says Grok. At Grok. Is that how you say it? The Twitter AI?
Yeah.
He says Grok is all in on Texas winning this year. There you go.
Well, that's a bad sign.
Thanks for asking. This says UT improved the red zone offense. Well, that's for sure.
That's been a problem.
I would promise you, when we hear from Steve Sarkisian coming up, when asked what's your biggest concern, he's going to say we got to get the red zone fixed. We've got to be better in short yardage and red zone. And part of that's having C.J. Baxter back as a big back. Part of that is improving just in all phases, and then a quarterback potentially in Arch Manning, who can bring some legs to the game and what he brings to that goal line and red zone opportunity. But those are all fair concerns as we open training camp this week. Speaking of that, that's the bottom of the hour. That means let's talk Texas, as we do at the bottom of every hour here on Game Time.
All right.
Brought to you by Dr. Greg Eckert. He is my dentist and would love to be yours. Brand new smile right there in front of you. And it's from the best cosmetic artist and best cosmetic team in Texas. He is a lifetime Longhorn. He is Dr. Greg Eckert. That's Eckert with a U, U-E-C-K-E-R-T. This says, my biggest concern is backup offensive linemen. Okay, well, we'll get into that here coming up, a little bit on the depth chart. And that's fair. But I think the Longhorns are as deep as they've been in a while on the offensive line, personally. And I'll say it this way, that since Sark got here with Kyle Flood, Kyle Flood's his offensive line coach, that he came from Alabama, and that continuity, Sark has made no bones about it. I mean, the Pancake Factory, the big humans, that has been a priority since those two and that staff stepped foot on this campus. And, that they have really stockpiled good offensive linemen. And yes, they lost Jake Majors and Hayden Connor and Kelvin Banks and Cam Williams to the NFL this offseason. So 4 of the 5. But I think the guys they've got ready to step in and step up, have played a lot of football, and I think your concern about behind that is fair. We haven't seen these guys play. There are unknowns in that spot, but I do think the depth chart is chalked with really high level, talented players because this staff has made that a priority. We'll see, because the offensive line has to be better, especially against really good teams. If you want to win the national championship, you've got to be able to move and hold up against elite defensive fronts, and the Georgias and the Ohio States, obviously, of the world who you're going to see in 33 days. Those are fair concerns, but I feel like the priority they've put on this, and we're talking about offensive linemen that have not only been highly recruited, but now in the Longhorn weight room with Torrey Becton in the strength conditioning program for 2 and 3 years now. I do feel like it's going to be, it certainly, in my mind, Jack, won't be a weakness, and I think it may be a strength when we get to the start of the season. When you make a priority of something like they have and you recruit like they have, you'll start to see because remember, Jake Majors and Hayden Connor were guys that they inherited.
Yeah.
And, that not their guys, just, not to say, but they did recruit Kelvin Banks early. He gave you 3 great years, and he's moving on. Cam Williams probably left a little bit early. I think if he were coming back, I think you feel even better about the offensive line. But, he 2 years and, his 3 years out of Duncanville, he's now in the NFL. But I still think it's going to be one of the strengths of the team. That would be my opinion. Where are you with this offensive line? You said that might be your one big concern.
Yeah, I think it's just anytime you're breaking in basically an entirely new offensive line, there might be some growing pains, but we've gone through the numbers on this show. There's actually a lot of returning production. They didn't maybe start all these games, although there's a good amount of starts. I think it's Cole Hudson, right, who's moving over to center.
Cole Hudson will play center. DJ Campbell's your most experienced lineman. He was 5-star kid out of Arlington 5 years ago. I mean, he's a first-team All-SEC guy. Sark has raved about him at SEC Media Days as just the guy that, because, there were 4 of the 5 offensive. Jake Major started more games than any player in the history of Texas at center or at any position, but he started like 57 games. And he and Kelvin Banks and I think even Hayden Conner were kind of seen as that room's leaders, and maybe DJ took a back seat to that. Well, this year he is the leader. He is the absolute, without unquestioned leader of the offensive line, and Sark has kind of raved about what he has brought to that. All the players say if I get in a bar fight, I want DJ on my side. I mean, he's that type of, they need that. They need the road grader, and to play to that level, he's got to step it up. Cole Hudson's played a lot of football in for injured players. He's going to be your center. He's a senior. He's one of those upperclassmen for you. Connor Robertson is up in there. You're going to have Trevor Gooseby, who the NFL has salivated about playing left tackle. And Brandon Baker, the 5-star kid a few years ago out of Mater Dei, he's your right tackle. He's won a battle, but that was a really good battle at right tackle. Andre Kojo is a guy that came hard. Nate Kibble is a redshirt freshman. Again, these guys, there's a lot of talent on that offensive line that's waiting and competing to be in that spot. I think it's they got a lot of good players there. Neto Umeazolo is there, and so we'll see. You got to see it, but like where they're going with that. Really, before I get to the other side of the ball, because somebody said defensive line is a concern. Let me play this for you, because today is 33 days away, and I'll give you who's your favorite Longhorn number 33? Is it Priest Holmes back in the day?
Deontay Foreman, I guess.
Ooh, Deontay Foreman.
Probably the most underrated player in the history of the program.
Yeah, because he played in those. He won a Doak Walker.
He did.
Helped Texas beat OU that one year, for crying out loud. But here's your best 34. Can I give you your because 34 was yesterday. So, we missed that. We weren't here on Sunday. But I'll play a great piece of audio. Here we go.
Backs are offset. Brown and Williams. Cavill goes in motion. Handoff. Williams up the middle, running for yardage. He's at the 50. He's at the 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. And he cuts back at the 10. 5. Drive for the end zone. Touchdown, Texas. Ricky Williams has the record, and he has a touchdown for the Longhorns. Ricky Williams, a 60-yard touchdown run.
That is a Heisman Trophy winning run right there. Ricky Williams gets the record, gets the touchdown, and I dare say the Heisman Trophy on one run.
How about that? A little old school. Bill Schoening at the time, voice of the Longhorns, with now the voice of the Longhorns, Craig Way on color. Ricky Williams, the all-time leading rusher in college football history. That record stood for 1 year.
Yeah, for about 5 minutes.
Until Ron Dane came and won it. But I was on the field or at the game for that. It was kind of a rainy, what was it, Thursday or Friday? Texas and Texas A&M against the rivals, and Ricky Williams run into the record books. That was pretty awesome. And Chris, our man, I got a little chills listening to that right there. My man Chris Bennett, CB, posted that on Sunday over the weekend. Way to go, CB. That was good. I haven't heard the Bill Schoening call of that in a long time. Brett Musburger is normally what you hear when you pull up that Ricky Williams call.
Running into the record book.
But that's the best 34. He also started as 11, then he went to 34 and made that famous. And because Earl Campbell is an all-time great 34, but he wore 20 at Texas.
Sure.
He didn't go to the 34 until he got to the Houston Oilers, where he went to 34, kind of like Nolan Ryan and Akeem Olajuwon, all were 34s, Houston icons all. But there you go. So we'll take your great 33s. You remember Doak, you remember DeAndre Foreman. I would say Priest Holmes, Anthony Priest Holmes. He was a better pro than he was a Longhorn because he played in the crowded backfield and had an injury. But that would be one I would throw out there. We'll take yours, your favorite 34s and 33s on this Monday. But, you mentioned, Jack, concerns for Texas as they head to their first practice this week and begin prep for Ohio State in 33 days. The defensive line, right? You lose another crop of D linemen to the NFL, Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins, off to the Baron Sorrell, all guys who were part of that contingent that was drafted into the NFL. And but the Longhorns have been very aggressive in the portal in defensive tackle. And I think it's to their benefit, obviously. Like immediately when they were going out to get the punter, Jay Boomeister, and try to address some, they knew they were going to have some needs back in December when the portal opened for the first time. They really attacked defensive line. And Cole Brevard out of Purdue, and Travis Shaw is a kid from North Carolina who they immediately got on, and then a kid from Ohio State who they faced in the Cotton Bowl on January 10th, Hero Canoe. Those three guys were all brought in. And then into the spring portal, they brought in Levon Johnson from Maryland and a kid named Murad Watson from Syracuse, who I've been hearing rave reviews about here through the summer. Murad was only a freshman at Syracuse last year. He's a sophomore. He's going to be a big part of the Texas D-line rotation, along with the guys I mentioned, and Alex January, who's now into his third year, and I think coming into his own. He's a kid out of South Dallas. His father is a legacy who played at Texas. And then Melvin Hills, another guy there. Then there's young guys, D-line like Justice Terry and Josiah Sharma, Miles Charles. You'd like to be able to redshirt those guys. That's why they got heavy in the portal and brought in 5 guys. But just so happens that Travis Shaw, one of the guys they brought in, Jack, played at North Carolina. And you know who just was coaching at North Carolina?
Mac Brown.
He is Mac Brown. Do you know Mac Brown now does a podcast every week with our buddy Bob Ballou? It's called The Stampede. And here was Mac from last week's episode talking about the impact Travis Shaw, a player he coached and recruited, can have on the Texas D-line in 20 and 25.
Travis is 6'5". He's 330. He can run. He's had a sore knee. They fixed his knee this spring. I think Travis will have a breakout year and be a great player. He's the number 1 or 2, depending on the ranking, defensive lineman coming out in high school. He is a great young guy. He's really smart. I talked to him this spring. He's excited about what he went through this spring. He's excited about the opportunity to play. And like when Danny Ford won a national championship at Clemson, they rotated 9 guys up. They just rotate them. So every 6 plays, you'd come in, and that's what I see Sark doing. Kenny Baker's done a great job with those young guys. And a guy like Travis, when you're 330 pounds like these guys are, when you start looking at Watson and Brevard, they're 330 pounds, 350 pounds. They can play 25, 30 plays a game. But if you play them 60 or 80, they're going to get tired. They're going to need a bunch of energy strips under that tongue. But that's what I think the guys are doing. They're preparing with depth and numbers so they can rotate. And Travis will be a great player in that position.
All right, so there's Mac Brown from the first and debut episode of The Stampede, along with Vince Young and our friend Bob Ballou, all friends of the show, and there you go. So, and I think that's really what one of the reasons I think there should be excitement for the Longhorns is, to what Mac just said about the ability to stack depth. I think they're doing that on both lines of scrimmage. The SEC is a line of scrimmage league, so. But to the texter who said offensive line depth, okay, but you're right. I mean, it's unproven, but man, they got a lot of good players. They got a lot of names that we've seen, coming out of high school, and they've, Kyle Flood's really good at development. Obviously, Bo Davis and now Kenny Baker on the D line, and those are two. I mean, Sark has made several things priorities since he got here 5 years ago. Big humans on both lines of scrimmage, speed on the outside, and then quarterback, and all those things are in place here. With Arch Manning now taking the reins, and they got plenty of speed on the outside. And how about this, Jack? This real quick to wrap up this edition of Horns at Half Past. This weekend, Pro Football Focus put out their preseason All-SEC defensive squad. Preseason All-SEC defense, according to Pro Football Focus. Of the 11 players, 4 are Longhorns. 4 are Longhorns. That's pretty good. Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, Malik Muhammad, and Michael Taff. There are 2 Georgia Bulldogs. There's a kid from Alabama, 1 A&M player, Torian York, the linebacker, really good. But Dylan Stewart, the edge from South Carolina, is there. Tim Keenan, the D lineman from Alabama. But 1 Georgia Bulldog, 2 Georgia Bulldogs, Christian Miller and KJ Bolden, the safety. 4 Longhorns, though. No one else with more than 2 on the Pro Football Focus 2025 preseason All-SEC defense. Pretty good. That's where Texas loads up defense and offense. This is the year, one of the years. They're check a lot of boxes.